Back by popular demand is the Maoshan wizard TCM healer Patrick Giguere, uh, my one of my Maoshan students, and always love interacting with him and talking with him because of his wealth of knowledge and experience with the elements and chi and energy. He's just a really great person to talk to. And so today, I think we're gonna get to the water and earth element that we were going to look at. And it turns out that I am now actually prepared to talk about that because the previous communication we had got me thinking about wood and earth, and I made a video about that having to do with procrastination. And so I made a similar video today, but thankfully Patrick is ignorant of what I wrote or what I talked about. So we'll find out if I was right or not. But did you have anything prepared, or should we just launch into sort of a discussion? How would you like to?
Nothing in particular. Just thanks for having me on. I never get to talk it's rare I get to talk this stuff in this way, so it's cool.
Well, yeah, I'm happy to have you. I meant everything I said. You know me, I wouldn't, I'm too
Oh yeah.
selfish to waste my time on something that doesn't have any
No.
value to me.
No, you're on to the next thing.
All right, so water and earth. All right, so what I'm really even more uh, inspired by, what you call the controlling cycle. Normally, I mean, like my experience, and I think probably the vast majority of people when they go talking to TCM and the elements, uh, they're, forced to do the generative cycle, wood, fire, earth, metal, water.
Yeah.
And, because the assumption is that people have weak elements and they need more of this energy. And I got nothing against that. I love doing that. I love doing the six healing sounds, and I love doing it in that order. But I also really love, for me, I call the controlling cycle the purifying cycle because that's my experience of it. It really does purify and intensify it. And it also, my experience is that it does shift up the frequency. So if I want to shift up another frequency, I want to do the purifying cycle, not the generative one. So I'm now, water and earth. We've just done, I've just released the Xuan Wu Dark Warrior of the North set, which I know that you're doing as well. Gotten some great feedback from it. And one person actually said, um, gave me all the things that it's doing for them. Of course, the understandable things: digestion is getting better, better sleep, uh, less thinking, more, cognitive awareness and general health. But he said also that he said it is an earth element, but he says, and I also feel like it's a water set. And he's absolutely right because Xuan Wu is in the north. He's the dark warrior of the north. And even in the Taoist understanding, that's where water is. It's in the north. And of course, in the other practices as well, in the Norse and I don't know wherever else, the direction uh, is the same, and that's the element, water. So, oh, look at that.
But yeah.
All right, so there's my spiel for the moment. What do you have to say about all this?
Yeah, just wanted to get a visual to it. Um, yeah, I mean, just nothing much, but just to sort of reiterate what you said. It's like to shift up, you have to dump the crap. Like you got to lighten the balloon.
Yeah.
If you got a hot air balloon and you don't have a heat source and you want to go up, you have to throw something out. So, or if you do have a heat source, it might not at the time be give you enough lift.
Yeah, so I don't need to be right about this. I obviously have a bias because the spirit fighting is my thing, and it uses the controlling cycle. Oh, put that back on.
Oh, sure, sure.
I want to address that. Um, but the feeling that I'm having as I'm sitting here talking to you is again, I think that that TCM idea that has probably been going on for centuries of, oh, here's what you do to balance the elements. You go wood, fire, earth, metal, water. And if that would make sense, if we're going back 1,000 years, 500 years, people are working really hard. They're depleted on just about every level, right?
Yeah,
So what
understimulated too, or not so stimulated.
Right. So they need the elements more because they're out there, busting their hump, 12 hours a day, whatever, farming or hunting or whatever the hell they were doing. And
Mm,
I'm thinking about it now that now we have all of our food, it's all super processed. We're completely overstimulated with uh, technology and all of that. So it's more like our elements are probably more bloated. And if there is one, that's weak, the other ones are just super over bloated and blocked. And so I think that the spirit fighting, the controlling cycle, I think is probably the best way to go just in general for the average modern person. And I could be wrong. It could be my bias, but I don't know. What do you think about all that?
I think you're absolutely right. You know, a few years ago, you shared that website with me, the ChineseShamanism.com, and it was that French guy giving those lectures, and he had some diagrams, and and he mentioned that we have a serious wood disorder in the
I
world
saw
right
that.
now
I forgot
because we're,
about that.
'cause we're
I
cutting
don't even
trees down
remember.
like crazy, and then all the screens and just all the noise and all the media just stimulates your overstimulates your nervous system.
Yeah.
It puts a lot of like the screens put like false fire into your systems, and it's like
Hmm.
so yeah, I think wood's really overactive, and we just especially Western society, we have a real safety addiction.
Yeah.
It's like you just there's no more adventure because it's like your mom's afraid you're gonna get hurt.
I mean, yeah. So we're talking about the water then, because that has to do with fear and trust. But I mean, maybe you remember it, but I'm old enough to remember before all of this, when we were kids, what happened was your parents said, get out of the house, don't hang around the house, stop watching television. And they would say, go outside and play.
Yeah,
Now they had no way of tracking us.
yeah.
So we'd get on our bikes or our skateboards, and we didn't have to tell them where we were going. We were just gone. And then, like my mom, I knew when to come home because I could hear my mom screaming off of the balcony, Michael, Michael. That's what parents did. They
Yeah.
don't do that anymore. I mean, now that it's, and not only that, there's this I mean, I was blown away when I heard this. I was dating a woman and she had kids, and she sent her kids to what she called summer camp. And I thought she meant like they were going off to some camp in the mountains somewhere. And what she meant was she was driving them to some community center, dropping them off where they're going inside a building, and they're being watched and monitored the whole time.
Oh,
Yeah, how could you not be afraid after being trained like that? What was it like for you as a kid?
it was just kind of like just get the hell out of the house. Um, yeah, because I lived in a town of like, I don't know, 15 to 20,000 people. It was like it's an old factory town and like you could walk everywhere.
Yeah.
And like I had friends that lived around the corner and I could walk to my grandparents and my cousins and it was like, just like my parents like just tell me where you're going. give me a general idea when you're going to be back, and do your thing. Like, I want some peace and quiet.
Yeah.
And you had to use someone's phone. You had to change for a pay phone if you wanted to call. It
Yeah,
wasn't,
right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Because
But
I was in college when like the whole cell phone thing started. I was probably like 19, 20.
I didn't I just thought there was something wrong with me. Looking back on it, I'm realizing that my instincts in my body were telling me what to do, but I didn't have a smartphone until 2013 because the thought of having a phone where people could text me was so rude. I couldn't tolerate that thought, so I had one of those flip phones,
Mm.
and I was married up until I got divorced in 2012. But my ex-wife, she would get on my case because she was like, "I want to be able to text you," and I'm like, "Why don't you just call me?" Well, if I'm in a meeting, I'm like, "Well, if you're in a meeting, why the hell do you need to text me? Call me. That's what the phone is for. If I'm not there, leave a voicemail.
Uh,
That's what it's for." Anyway,
yeah, I think I held out to like 2014 or something. Yeah, or 2013.
no, so
Damn
you lasted
smartphone.
longer than me then.
I mean, I was texting. I knew how to count. Like, I didn't have to look at it. I could count. I could braille the keyboard and like count the.
Well, the thing I liked about those phones is that you could call the phone company and say, disable the text.
Right.
So people couldn't text me even if they wanted to. Of course, you
Yeah.
can't do that now. Try that now. It's not going to happen. But
Yeah.
anyway, so we're talking about,
Too much wood.
yeah, too much wood and some weak. So are we talking about the water's weak?
Yeah, because if the wood's overactive, it's going to deplete the water. If the water's depleted, it's like instant fear,
Yeah.
exhaustion, chronic fatigue.
So here's what's happened with the my personal experience with the Xuan Wu form, which has completely opened me up. Again, I just wanted to make a a form. I had the opening form. The opening part. The complicated part is actually the uh, the ritual to summon him. It's the Chinese character for his name, and you're doing it with your hands, and that's where the magical part of it is, at least part of it, because that summons him, and that's all it was. So I said, I want to create a set for you, and in meditation I asked, will you guide me in that? And so the rest of that form was I just did the opening and then I just listened to my body. My body started doing really weird stuff. And and the end result of that, after doing that set a bunch of times, was an absolute awakening of my mind's ability to see the best course of action for my life going forward in a way that I couldn't see, and literally creating a whole brand new reality for me. And so I started thinking about what that person said, that he thought that it was earth and water. And so as I looked at it, I realized that it's the controlling cycle. And what's happening is that earth is destroying the fear.
Mm.
So I imagine that, you can come in on this and tell me what you think, but, you can have depleted water and then you can have too much. And I think we have too much
Yeah.
because, it's just like building up and people are drowning in it. And so you need the earth to come in and soak it up. But then when it does, the earth actually then, I was thinking about this, the actual physical planet, is constantly just churning things in and changing things. It'll take stuff that is toxic to us. And the earth goes, yeah, give me that. And the next thing you know, out comes on the other side food.
Yeah.
stuff that we need, and turning things into metal and turning things in, it just, and I realized that this set sort of does that. It takes the garbage in your brain. Like imagine there's too much water and earth, and it's just like this toxic mud, and it turns it into, gets the earth going again so the earth can then process the water. And then from that, the wood actually comes up, which is life, comes sprouting up. And that was my experience with this set. And it really started thinking, it got me thinking in a way of not just again, going, let's get more of this element in. So it's more like, no, let's refine it and improve upon it.
Yeah. Yeah, another kind of like parallel analogy they'd use for Earth in acupuncture schools. It's like it channels water like canals.
Yeah.
So like water's like it's like your skills and your wisdom and all this stuff. But I mean, there are people with a lot of skills and a lot of perspective who are just really scattered.
Yeah.
And it's like okay, channel the water, like get it where it needs to go to,
To do its
like,
job.
yeah, and feed the crops.
Yeah.
Slake their thirst.
Which would be wood. Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. So, we've got a couple different ways of doing it. If somebody's, their wood, it just needs to be, kickstarted so that they can take action. They know what they want to do, but they're procrastinating and fear is keeping them, or they're thinking too much or whatever. But then there's the people who just can't even envision anything. They can't envision. They don't even. They're not even confused. There's just no real thought process going on at all. They're just barely treading water. As
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
So this graphic here kind of helps us understand. If you go clockwise, it goes fire, earth, metal, water, wood, and that's the creation cycle. And then we've got our cycle, which is the star there, which is interesting. So wood destroys earth, earth destroys water, water destroys fire, fire destroys metal and wood. And again, those terms destroy, that to me comes across as a short-term understanding, which of course in the spirit fighting or in martial arts, of course, most people are coming at you with wood. They're trying to hit you with wood. So if you come at them, with just a little bit of metal, you'll destroy that, and then you can throw fire and whatever. But
Yeah.
but it's not that it's destroying it, because if you keep going in that cycle, like I said, it refines it.
Hmm.
So the destruction of all the negativity. But yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the concept about that? This is obviously just a graphic to give people the understanding. From a TCM perspective, what's the understanding of these two
It's
cycles?
basically it's to demonstrate that these elements have multiple relationships with one another at the same time. It's like if you took someone in your life who's close to you, you could say, I love that person, but that person drives me nuts too. And that person makes me laugh. And, it's just they have all these different relationships they have to stay balanced. Man, I think that's the essence of it. So it's like, that circular creation cycle, it's very nourishing, but love's got to be tough too.
Yeah.
So I think with these other ones, there's more like accountability involved. I guess is the way I'd put it.
So I think I asked you this before, but um, it's not penetrating. So the insulting cycle, So just let's say wood insults metal.
Right.
How would you apply that in a healing capacity?
So an example of that is like, well, it's interesting. Um, we talk about Chinese herbs, and I'll illustrate this point. Chinese herbs, there are different categories. So you've got like the stuff that you recommend, like the Huang Chi, I forget the Western name for it, but then like the ginseng, stuff like that. No toxic side effects. So you can take that stuff every day forever. You have other herbs that do have toxic side effects and they're very short term. So you can take them for maybe a month and you've got to take a long break. You got to take 3 months off, 4 months off. So I knew a guy who was prescribed, um, they were herbs to build like moisture in the liver. So what they call liver blood, liver yin. And there can be some difficulty prescribing Chinese herbs to Westerners.
Hmm.
Because there's a lot of biodiversity between ethnic groups and races and stuff. So this guy got too much of these herbs for too long. And basically this yin that was being put into his liver went down the insulting cycle and he got these blood clots in his lungs.
Wow.
Yeah, and this guy was maybe like in his late 30s, he was young, like totally active, the whole bit. Like, he went to school with me, so I went to see him in the hospital. Like he was messed up. So, yeah, things like that happen. Trying to think. Let me see. For example, like fire insulting water. Um, that's just like someone who burns themselves out. Like they work too hard, they're doing too many stimulants. So you got all this heart fire, and then basically the kidneys can't keep it cool. So then like things like kidney stones can happen where it's like there's not enough moisture in there, so you start getting like calcification. Um,
Oh, that's why I got kidney stones when I was in my late 20s. That explains it.
oh yeah, you may, yeah, right, right, right. Um, earth insulting wood. I kind of see that as like pancreatitis. So this is kind of neat. So pentagram depicts a human body. It's like the Vitruvian man, and you've got the
Yeah.
the
Okay.
apple core has the star in it. So imagine the head's fire. So let's say we're looking directly at this person. The earth, even though it's on our right, it's on that person's left side, and the wood's on their right side. So pancreas, stomach, spleen are all on the left, wood gallbladder's on the right. So this connecting line here, you have a connecting line, and it's called the hepatic portal vein. So it's a vein that goes from the pancreas to the liver. So when you get pancreatitis and the pancreas gets all inflamed and swollen, that vein gets swollen and it can close. And so that's basically the relationship between your earth organs and your wood organs is very disconnected and unhealthy. So it's pretty
So,
interesting.
so normally wood would purify earth,
Yeah,
but what's happening is it's more like so insulting. So it's more like earth is like talking back and just saying, F you,
yeah,
you're not gonna, So it doesn't, it sounds really unhealthy, that cycle, but I guess
yeah.
there would be times where it would be really necessary to do something like that to shock things back into some
Yeah.
order. So,
So, and you know what the funny thing is? I'm always confusing myself with the order in which we do these five elements for purification. So I'm like, well, is it controlling, aka destroying, or is it insulting? And I'm looking at this now. I'm like, wait, wood, metal, fire, water, earth. I'm like, oh, we're using this insulting, I think.
Okay, yeah, I had thought that
I
as
always
well.
confuse myself with this for some reason.
Well, no, let's see. No, we're doing the destruction cycle
Okay.
because wood destroys earth, right? So we start with wood.
Yeah.
We go wood,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
metal. Even though it sounds like we're talking about insulting, but the truth is, we do wood and then we destroy wood with metal. Then we destroy metal with fire.
Oh, right, 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 right,
We
right.
destroy fire with water, and we destroy water with earth. So
Oh, yeah.
it's the controlling cycle. But when you're practicing it, wood, metal, you're destroying the element you just did.
That's the way I've understood it. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I screw myself up.
Yeah, I was confused about that for years because again, my teachers, I just said, so we do, they just go, yeah, this is how we do it. They didn't know anything about anything. Said, yeah,
Yeah,
this is how we do it. So, and we do things different from other people. So, so basically, you don't need to worry about it. Just do what we tell you, and which was good advice at the time. But
yeah,
thinking about it afterwards, trying to make sense of it all.
yeah.
Let's see, there was something I wanted to, an idea that I had that fell out of my head. Uh, I need a sound effect of, something crashing on the floor right now. Um, anyway,
Um,
what did I want to talk about? Oh, you know what I'm really enjoying here is I hadn't seen this, but this is actually extremely accurate. When you come to train in November, we can take a look at that. But the actual application of the five elements in physical fighting is exactly what it says here. Fire explodes. Earth is crossing. The first movement, you cross the fists, you know, and there's all this crossing of the fists, throughout that whole set. And metal splits, and the whole time we're just basically, splitting things. Even the punches, when you know how to do them, they split right through you.
mm,
The water is drilling, which is interesting because we've got that down motion and you've got like this hand that comes down. And even the punches, when the punches come through, they drill into you. But not like a piece of metal drills into you, like, waves as a surfer, when you get this water shallow enough, that lip, when it comes down, it drills you right into the bottom
oh,
of,
oh, yeah.
right into the sand. In fact, there've been people who've had their necks broken, and surfers had their necks broken in just normal waves just because the lip just drives their head right into the sand.
Mm,
And of course, wood is just crushing, just so I really enjoyed that, and of course, they're not people who are doing this aren't thinking about, how this is applied in martial arts or energy or any of that. It, so let's just say the wood crushing. How do you apply that in some kind of healing scenario?
yeah. So the basically, like the wood. So you're dealing with the liver and the gallbladder. You've got they're basically the digestive supervisors. Because it's like when you sleep, your blood engorges with liver, and that's when your blood cells pick up all that nutrition to, replenish and rebuild your body. So, with any sort of digestive disorder, so when I look at the crushing, one way I see that is, roots grow through the soil and they basically prevent erosion.
That's true.
But they have like, as they're slowly penetrating the soil, they have sort of a crushing force where they're going to displace dirt. If you wanted to see it, like a faster example, it's like when Fangorn Forest is like moving in the Lord of the Rings to go like destroy the orcs. it's like trees moving rapidly like that. They're basically gonna crush the earth and push through it. Um, so yeah, so like a weak digestion, the liver has to be it often has to be like tonified, strengthened, so that it can hold the earth together. Um, so sometimes it's not crushing enough, sometimes it's crushing too much. It's like if you have a hangover and you've got diarrhea. It's to the point where the wood organs are like oppressing the earth organs because they're basically saying, "What the hell did you do?"
Oh yeah. So it's trying to
'Cause-
clean out all the garbage and it's yeah.
Yeah, because that alcohol just like flushes everything out of your body. So basically, like flushes all your good digestive energy out. And it's like screwing with your flora. It's killing bacteria.
Yeah.
So then, the liver's having a freak out. So it can crush too much or it can crush too little, and it has to be, you got to find the sweet spot for it. So, does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. I'm
Okay.
just looking at this graphic, thinking about it. Okay, so how does how would you overlay yin yang or would you? Would you overlay a yin yang symbol on that? Is that something you could do?
What's interesting is there's another. Give me a quick second and let me see if I can find this graphic. There's another graphic that looks like an equilateral cross. So wood and metal are one pole, one axis, and then fire and water are one axis, and then earth is in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
And it overlays more harmoniously on that. Ah, crap. I use the word cross, and it's like it's giving me all this crucifixes and stuff. Um, mm, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Um, I take that back. Let's do a quick scan here. Yeah, like I've got that in my notes. Well, let me pull this one up. Um, Let me just save it and see if it's decent. Uh, oh, wait, wait, wait. See, they're all for, wait, okay, let me try this. Yeah, let me just pull this web page. All right.
Okay, yeah, there we go.
Okay, here we go. So yeah, not something I've contemplated a whole lot. Um, well, actually, let me shrink out of this. Let me go to this one. This is kind of crazy looking.
That is crazy looking.
So what you've got for every element. So for wood, you've got gallbladder and liver. And you've got their two poles because you've got a yang organ and a yin organ. Um, so every element has a yin and a yang, but then fire has two of those pairs. So that's one way that yin and yang works. They work inside the elements. And and then if we go back to the basic diagram, another way that
Wait, pull that one back up that you were just
the
in.
crazy one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
got me thinking because I'm only seeing the fire having two different placements there.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking in terms of the Shen and all of that and the Shin. But so what's the understanding of why are there two placements of fire like that?
Yeah. So, okay, this is really interesting. So fire gets four organs and four organ meridians because the idea is we live on a water planet, so we're on planet fear.
Whoa, that's really interesting. We're on planet Fear. Wow.
So we need double fire under our asses to like as a counterbalance.
Okay, all right. Interesting.
So then you've got heart and small intestine as a pair, as a yin yang complement. That's the fire of heaven. And then Shin Bao, heart protector, aka pericardium, is teamed up with the triple heater or triple energizer, and that's the fire of the earth. So that's like the fire at the core of the earth.
Wow.
Now, I have a long-term, quick sidebar, I have a long-term project I'm working on. You can very accurately overlay the zodiac signs onto these 12 circles that represent the organs.
Oh my gosh.
Because there's a clock. There's basically a daily clock. So 3 a.m. is the witching hour because that's where your body's um, energy cycle resets. So at 3 a.m., it starts with the lung channel, goes to large intestine, stomach at breakfast time, 7 to 9 a.m., spleen you're digesting, 9 to 11. Heart is at midday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., so the height of the sun. So then you progress small intestine, urinary bladder, kidney. Um, Heart protector is 7 to 9 p.m. It's interesting. This is when I've been practicing most.
Yeah.
Um, it's like that liminal time too, you know, when the sun goes down, you're between worlds and all that.
Yeah.
So then the whole thing ends with the liver before the whole thing restarts. So basically, like the lung is Aries and then the liver is Pisces. And so then when you apply the angles like oppositions and squares and all this stuff, what the hell did I do? You can get I think you can get an idea of how organs relate to each other, but that's a whole long-term thing I have to do. Because this is basically like a Western astrology chart. So like in a Western chart where kidney's sitting, that's like the ascendant in the first house right there. You know, they go the other way around, but it's the same geometry.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah, the fact I there's something about those, twice as much fire,
Yeah,
more, the heart is huge. I mean, that's clearly the most important organ. I mean,
everything serves it.
just there's just so much energy going to it, and on a spiritual note, there's so much going on in the heart. We've got the soul in there. I am coming to the conclusion that I think the soul is split. There's a yin and yang for the soul.
Mhm.
I'm not convinced on that. This is only as a result of my interdimensional communications um and then you've got the the heart protector there, the pericardium, what I'm calling the shin, the shi energy. What is it? So you've got up there, you've got pericardium, and then what is the TH? What is that?
TH is like it's an organ and it's like a set of functions that have no physical structure. So the TH means triple heater.
Triple heater. Okay, triple heater.
So that is basically that's like your body's mechanism for transporting yang energy around the body and for transporting what's called the yuan qi, the original qi from the kidneys.
Okay.
And actually, I got a quick thing you'll like about since we're talking about the kidneys about water, and earth. So we as well, not just our human bodies, but our energy system, we have a hybrid power plant. So you've got the earth, you take in food, you digest it, you have to assimilate it, do all that stuff. The water, the kidneys do something very similar. The kidneys basically suck in like 0 point, like void energy. Now, these two energy sources come together in the gallbladder. So, one of the ancient names for the gallbladder is the miraculous pivot because it's where these two power plants link up. Um, the gallbladder, it's the yang organ of the wood element. So the liver makes the bile, pushes into the gallbladder, and gallbladder stores it, and then it doles it out. It disperses it as you need it to digest fat. Now the bile is made out of very particular salts. Any bit of salt, any type of salt you eat, any of these alkaline chemicals gets processed by the kidneys. So without a gallbladder, you have this very impeded digestive ability. So basically, these like the kidneys are pulling the 0 point energy, and there's something going on where that's mixing with salt and like changing the compounds. And that allows this like 0 point energy that the kidneys are assimilating, and then it's passing on this energy and this substance to the liver and the gallbladder. This energy coming from the kidneys gives you the ability to break down the fuel and the nutrients that the earth element are taking in. So the earth element's like kind of doing the heavy lifting with digestion, but then the kidneys are contributing this very important sort of a catalyst that you need to do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the gallbladder is where it all comes together.
So again, I'm translating all this into stuff I understand, which may be inaccurate, but water. You're telling me that that's where the primordial energy comes from, and we know that water is trust. And so, if that trust isn't there, you can't even begin to digest anything.
That's a beautiful way to put it, I think.
You can't even begin to comprehend what's going on in your reality. You can't digest your reality. You can't
Yeah,
comprehend it.
yeah.
So you have to start with the primordial 0 point, which you have no responsibility or control over. It has to come from emptiness, from the void, from God, whatever. That comes in, you have to trust. If you don't, it doesn't come in. And if that doesn't come in, the uh, then the earth can't even begin the process of digesting comprehension.
That's an amazing explanation. Yeah.
So, and again, we're talking about now that you've brought this up that we live on the fear planet, that, our first instinct is to have fear and to believe that we are not worthy of being nourished and taken care of. If that is one's assumption about life, they are guaranteed not to understand anything about life.
Yeah.
It's a
Wow.
guarantee. And so they end up working so hard, thinking, which would be the earth trying to, it's like it's not hooked up to the rear axle. So it's just you're stepping on the gas and it's not going anywhere. And that's everybody overthinking all the time.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm
then,
just now realizing no wonder everybody wants to use AI to have somebody do the thinking for them because they can't even begin. And it's like they've been doing it, but the moment somebody steps in and says, I'll do the thinking for you, people immediately become addicted to it to the point where, people can't even, it's to the point where people can't even, especially kids, they can't even begin to read a book and write a paper on it.
yeah.
It's not just that they're lazy, it's just they just need that little push to the point of, okay, I can't even do this anymore. And this is all being brought back to what I'm hearing you say is that there's this primordial energy that has to come in, and then that has to flow. If it doesn't flow to the earth, which is a choice we make with trust, when we trust, that flows, that opens up, the spigot of the water, which then takes from the source and it goes into the earth, and then the earth processes that, and then the digestion happens, and you go, oh yeah, I know what that is, and that makes sense, and this is me, and that is you. And if you don't do
Yeah.
that, you're just that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm hearing as
Yeah.
I hear you talk.
Yeah. And when you get the gallbladder involved, that's like the middleman between the kidneys and the digestion. And so that those are the roots crushing through the earth to contain it and prevent the erosion.
So the wisdom of the wood,
Yeah.
something about that. I mean, that's Thor. And people don't realize this, but Thor, in real ancient Norse understanding, Thor was the priest. Thor wasn't the warrior that came smashing in. I mean, he did that. As we know, Jupiter retrograde is the most dangerous warrior there is, which is to me, the crushing part of the wood. Bam. But then if the earth, the physical earth has the knowledge, that has to then be converted into wisdom. So the roots of the tree go in and grab onto that wisdom, and then it comes sprouting out of the earth, and now you've got wisdom. And people worshipped Thor in way back when at the largest oak tree that ever existed, 1,000-year-old oak tree. That's where they worshipped Thor,
Mm.
the wisdom. And yeah, Thor, I was reading about this. I intuitively felt this. I would get really bent out of shape of the wannabe, new agey Asatru who, would talk about Thor being just this brash bull in a china shop, just this idiot, warrior that smashes everything. And I really hated hearing that. And I can't remember where I read it, but I read somewhere that no, that's not at all what he was. That actually he was incredibly wise. That was the thing that really gave him his strength, was this wisdom that he had about him. And
Mm.
he operates from instinct, but that instinct comes from a direct connection to all of the wisdom. There's no lag time between knowing what to do and doing it. That doesn't mean he's brash. That means that there's just no impurities between the two.
Huh. Yeah, it's like if you put Odin in the north with the water, it's like Thor's implementing what he's learned from Odin.
Yeah.
Hmm. Wow. That was
So
wild.
yeah, we're looking at everything is a holographic projection of everything. So we're looking at a holographic projection, whether we're talking about, okay, here's how the body works. But if we take that same aspect towards the spiritual understanding, it's just again a holographic projection of that. And in the middle there, we've got the yin and the yang, which is obviously the projector. And from that yin and yang, as we know from the way that the universe was created, is from the void came the one, from the one came the two, yin and yang, from the two came the three, which is the three ones, and from the three came the five, which is the five elements, and from the five came infinity, all of creation. And this is a holographic projection that's just so we all end up going back to the same place, whether we're talking about health, whether we're talking about martial arts, whether we're talking about meditation or magic or immortality, mental health. It's all coming in from the same basic place.
Mm.
Okay, I'm done preaching. What do you think?
I'm glad I stumbled upon this graphic.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. It's interesting too how the fire, it's the bookends for the water as well.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
You know, it's contained. It's essential, but it's contained.
That's interesting.
And it's like don't you go giving too much to these other elements. They'll be scared shitless. They won't be able to to do anything.
Wow. So yeah, that's
Yeah, and being the void energy, you don't want it like directly touching anything. Like
yeah.
it's got to be stepped down properly.
Well, and it's interesting now that we're talking about this. So the fear is being contained by the fire, and the fire is so many of the aspects of the fire have to do with the heart center, whether it's the heart and or the heart protector and the triple heater. And what was the main symptom from the people
Oh
having
yeah.
myocardial,
Yep.
heart problems? That's the first
Yeah.
thing that erupted. So the protector of the fear. So that gave the fear free rein to just go everywhere. It's kind of hard not to think that that wasn't orchestrated.
Yeah, it was like the ship from it was like the ship of the dead. It's like,
Yeah.
come on in, guys.
So it makes sense. Look at all the fear that's in the world now.
Mm,
And
yeah.
fear is how you can be controlled.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is like a mind-boggling thing to look at.
Okay. Well, anyway, um, I got
Oh
to get
yeah.
ready for a meditation in a half an hour. So
Yeah, yeah, decompress.
as much as I want to trip out on this, man, um, we'll save it for later. These are great. I'm really enjoying these conversations. I hope we can
Yeah.
do it again. Yeah. So you still have what is your website?
Oh, lifespringhealing.com.
LifeSpring Healing. All right.
And just search my name on YouTube.
I will put that somewhere in this video. All right, my friend. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
everything. And I look forward to more deep conversations that will probably bore the hell out of most people. And two or three will just get crazy into it. All right. That's it, my friend. Thank you
It's
so
a lot.
much.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Thank you.